Tales from the Tap. My name is Frankie, and this is my co-host,
Stan the Man.
We are excited to give you some updates into the early parts of MKM for the constructed formats. But before we do, Stan, how's pre-release?
Oh, pre-release was actually really fun. Karlov Manor, awesome set. Had a really good time. Actually, I was just telling you how unfortunately we had an incident of theft at the store this week. It is what it is. Nobody was hurt. Everybody's safe. Caught the guy.
Game less important than Magic.
Yeah, it was Pokemon, so I didn't lose that many singles. Anyways, we caught the guy. It all worked out. Everybody was safe. But I was literally like, wow, that was like my favorite pre-release weekend of running the shop so far. I had such a good time that Monday when that happened was like killed my mood for it. But this whole week was so good. And then the flashback two-headed giant we did a couple days ago, or actually last night, we did another two-headed giant with more sealed for Karlov Manor, and everybody was just talking about how much the set was so fun, having a good time. I don't know if you saw on Discord for the store, we have shout out to our Discord, but I played a match for my first trophy in Karlov Manor, and I just really love this limited format. I know I say that for like the last three sets, but like this one is probably my favorite, actually.
Well, in Lost Caverns, I'm sorry, it wasn't it.
I liked it, but I can understand why people didn't. I actually struggled with it, but I enjoyed the struggle. But yeah, Karlov Manor, I'm playing for my first trophy. I'm in game 7. 2 L's because sometimes I play at the store, and if I have to get up, sometimes I don't get back in time, and it is what it is. But
he's roping people is what he's saying.
I'm accidentally roping people. But I try to get back as fast as possible, I swear. Anyways, I'm in game 7. Effectively, and I am kind of like crushing this guy. He has like a really bad blue-black do-nothing deck, so I'm like, oh, like my board state is nasty. I can't remember the names of all the cards anymore, but I have like this black-white 4-drop that's like if you get 2 or less power, you drain for 1. I have 2 of those guys.
I don't know the name of the card, but the card's nutty.
I'm
and
just draining
like 5 or 6 to give them like
2 haunches, and
haunch?
Half of my wins were like crack a haunch, drain you. Like after I get it back with the flat face guy. The Nuzzler, yeah. And then I'm just like, get it back, crack it again, drain you. And also the haunch makes it a 4/4 flyer. It's so gross. If you don't even get the payoff of like lifelink, death touch, all my guys for 7 mana. But my deck was so cracked. I'm playing against this guy. He has 2 outrageous robberies. 2! I was so mad. I literally instantly started posting in the Discord like, I'm about to lose the outrageous robbery. This guy's playing my own cards against me. I grinded back the value of outrageous robbery for 5. He's playing my own spells. I grinded him past that, beat my own deck, plays the second one for 8. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, I'm livid. I'm so mad. And then I remember, oh wait, I'm not going to mill out. I have a living conundrum. So my 2/5 hexproof guy very quickly turns into a 10/10, which is not actually good enough because this guy had 2 coerce the witness, I believe it's called, where it's like a 5 mana.
Yeah, the black, blue, like take your guy, make it a 1/1 with that touch.
Yeah. So luckily for me, I had the removal spell that's kill up 4 power or an enchantment or artifact, make your move or something like that. So the first time he coerced my 4-drop guy, we're talking about the drain for 1. I'm like, no, give it back. You're going to die. And then later on, I'm like, okay, I got this living conundrum. I'm attacking every turn. He's running out of Thopters. He had a guy that was, it's a 4 mana blue uncommon. Whenever you collect evidence, you make a Thopter.
Yes.
Very, very powerful card. I have the same guy in my deck too, because I think I had like a detectives thing going on. So good. But I'm grinding through these 1/1s, right? And then he gets the second one, steals my guy again. I'm like, oh, now you have flying death touch. Now I can never attack you. Now this game that was going to end is going to go to basically time. And he had like 6 Deduces in his deck. So it turned out that the guy just milled himself out. And that's how I got my 7th win. I was like, what a format. But it was so fun. I was like literally at the store like 6 people here. I'm like, stop talking to me. I'm fighting for my life. I'm like doing the R. Kelly thing. I'm like, I'm fighting for my effing life, man. And it was so fun. I had like people watching me behind the counter and just like, just come watch. This is crazy. It's crazy. You'll never believe it.
Oh man.
And that's how I got my first trophy. And that was literally like yesterday, as soon as the store opened, like at like 2 or 3 o'clock. So much fun.
Yeah, I also can say that I've really enjoyed the set too.
Yeah.
I just really had a good time. I've already in my first week. I didn't get to really do pre-release. Like I got to do R2H2.
Yeah, R2H2.
But that doesn't feel like real Magic sometimes.
Sure.
You know,
Well, R2H Giant is such a different game, but it's so fun.
It's so fun, but it feels like a different game because like the cards that are bad, but like say each opponent like go way better in value.
Yeah.
And there's no like way to play Two-Headed Giant online. It's like only an in-person thing.
Yeah.
And it's not a good way for testing or limited.
It's honestly kind of like Bughouse and chess. It's like the purest form of, hey man, we're literally just playing for fun. But it's such a good time because like the people that play Two-Headed Giant, I mean, we have a lot of Two-Headed Giant players here, but we have a pretty big community. So we're lucky, I'm honestly blessed that everybody that comes to Two-Headed Giant, like, very rarely does anybody get salty. We're all like, man, that was awesome. Really good plays, nice deck. You can share your card pool. So the setbacks of like feeling bad that your card pool was bad isn't really there when you can open 12 packs. It just feels so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It was fun playing R2HG, but at the same time, because you've been so busy, you didn't really get to play as much in person.
Yeah, right.
But you've got 2 trophies online, right?
Yeah, I've gotten 2 trophies online so far. I just grind like at the end of my day, I'm like building decks or like while I'm like at my job, like taking phone calls, like, oh yeah, you know, tell me more about your business and your information while I'm like trying to play Arena on my phone at the same time.
That's funny.
So that's where I get my games in is like after work and stuff like that. And I've had, well, actually both my trophies were with Teysa.
Oh, nice.
And I've had 3 Teysas in my like 9 drafts. It's like every 3rd draft I get Teysa again. One was a red-black list that had Krenko.
Yeah, I saw your post.
Artifacts. Like you were also
getting all the guys.
Artifacts from Teysa at your end step. So you're just making tons of mana, putting counters on your goblins. It was crazy. And then the other one was a list that you would have really liked because I know how much you like the new Kaya.
Yeah.
And I got Kaya and Teysa, and it was like a blue-white detectives list that was really clean, but then just splashed those 2. And I ended up getting a Shadowy Backstreet and the whatever the blue-black Surveil land is. I got both of those.
Undercity Sewers, I want to say.
Yeah, Sewers, Rivers.
Yeah.
Something blue-black.
Wet black stuff.
Yes. That... I ended up getting both those lands in that pool, so like splashing was easy. And Escape Tunnel's really good too.
True.
I
actually like the color fixing in this format quite a bit. I've been splashing off colors, not unhappily, you know what I mean? One of my favorite ones is the land where you have like tap a land or tap an artifact. And because there's so many equipment I actually want in this set, because almost all of them draw you a card.
And have you played with Lead Pipe yet?
Lead Pipe is crazy.
Oh my gosh, I was like the 1 damage every time something blocks or dies or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like,
Lead Pipe is crazy. I still think Haunch is my favorite, but Lead Pipe draws a card.
Yeah.
Like Lead Pipe is probably the best equipment in the set, but I feel like Haunch is in the better color. And it just lends itself so well to like the turnaround. Oh, you had a better board state than me. And you had more life than me, and not anymore.
Yeah, it was just the only thing I would have wanted out of Haunch more. I mean, the card's good, but I would have wanted it to be a clue as well, so that like you could also have the option to like draw a card and make dudes instead of gaining the 3 life.
Right. I mean, it makes sense why it's a food, obviously, but yeah, it does. It does suck sometimes that you can't draw a card with it. However, +2 power, trade it whenever you want. The synergy with that uncommon Snuffler it's just insane. So like I never really feel bad about taking the equipments, but the equipments lend themselves really well to turn 1 Haunch, turn 1 Wrench, whatever. Turn 2, play this tap land or whenever, tap the artifact instead of tapping a land, so I can still play a 1-drop or whatever. Really kind of nice.
Yeah, and it feels like the white equipment and the black equipment are the superior ones.
Oh, yeah.
Like lead pipe doing the damage and wrench being like, I have vigilance and I'm tapping your stuff down.
Mhm.
Whereas like knife is like first strike.
Yeah.
Or like the blue one, the candlestick is
Yeah.
like surveilling, which are both good.
Well,
but-
rope is like what, reach, I want to say?
yeah.
Which is cool, but like you're not getting the synergy from the black white. And in green, you're like, I either want to play monsters or flip. And so what's the point of the rope at this point?
Yeah.
The reach is, I guess, okay. The thing that they are all good for, obviously, is that you can just equip them to any disguise guy, and now
Yeah.
they're automatically better than all the other disguisers. That's kind of where I do like knife and rope more. If you're fighting that, we both only have 2/2s with ward battle. The rope, I think, is +1, +2. So you're never losing your guy.
Yeah.
And then the first strike is like, okay, I'm not losing my guy. So that's kind of like, I guess, where the balance comes from.
Sure.
But Haunch and Lead Pipe, I totally agree. In their colors, all the synergy, and you kind of just want to beat down. I mean, if the guy's a suspect, now they have to block with 2 guys? Nah.
Yeah. It's been a fun set. I've really enjoyed it, and it feels like very synergistic. Like all the creatures that have 2 power stuff, it just feels really like
I agree.
there's so much that was built around it and built intentionally. And I feel like Wizards specifically, again, this is me speculating, but I feel like because of play boosters and like they're already people are watching them because this is a change and is it
Yeah,
as
they're
good?
under the microscope because they made a big decision.
Yeah, they made a big decision, so I think that with that in mind, they made sure to make this set really great.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
if
felt
that was
great
the
so
goal,
far.
right, exactly. If that's the goal, great job. Really like the set. I think it's performing pretty well. I did see, I was talking to Todd. He said like online and like some Facebook groups, some of the other retailers were complaining that the set was their worst selling set ever. And I was like, really? Like, not that it's like a numbers game, but I thought the set was doing pretty well, all things considered. And at least it's been my anecdotal experience that the players in the store are really excited about the set. I can't, like, anytime somebody's at the register, they're like, another collector pack, like, whatever. I got to get something,
Yeah.
and that doesn't always happen, it's not always that a set is that exciting that you want to just keep cracking packs.
Yeah.
Lost Caverns of Ixalan obviously had that feeling too, so back to back is pretty nice. But I mean, you occasionally have like a March Aftermath or a Midnight Hunt, that's like,
Oh, no, I did not want to rip any more Midnight Hunter Crimson Vow.
or even like New Capenna, for example. I thought New Capenna was awesome, but sales wise, it wasn't exciting for people to open. And now looking back, it's like, are you sure you don't want those Triumphs?
Well, okay, the Triumphs were obviously really great, but it was like Triumphs, Ledger Shrine.
yeah.
Every other card is just horrible.
Yeah. I guess I never really feel bad when a good card in the set is like a rare land, because it's like pretty easy to pull a rare land, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when you're pulling Modern Horizons 2, you're like, I just get a fetch land. And it's like, that's so nice.
Yeah, sure. Man, now that makes me think, I'm like, those Triumphs.
Isn't it funny
Maybe
how
maybe
the
I should
Triumphs
look
are
at it.
more than the fetch lands?
It's wild to me. Well, and I think that Standard for the first time in years is driving prices.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
Which is cool. Like we said, we wanted Standard to make a comeback. It's making a big comeback. If you aren't playing Standard, it's fun.
it's fun.
If you don't enjoy it,
it's fun. It's fun, and I think one of the things that people have craved for Magic for a long time, and Pioneer has given them a taste of that,
Yeah.
is a format that's constantly changing.
sure.
And because there's a new set reprinted every month, we're like juicing a set
Yeah.
or like a format over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, not just that, but I feel like it's fun to play fair Magic.
yes.
And like fair
Yes.
Magic without Standard was basically, let's be real, non-existent. And the Pioneer we did have while Standard was dead was not really fair until they got enough bans in. So where Pioneer is at now, really cool. We'll get into that more. Where Standard is at, very fun. If you haven't tried it, just give it a try. Play some Arena. Go to your local game store. You can build mono red or white toxic super cheap, and they're both solid decks. Even just BAMP if you want to get some lands. But there's a lot of cheap decks. Standard is really affordable. Like there's like a misnomer that it's expensive to play Standard. It is expensive if you play like
Black?
Domain and you need all your Triumphs, or if you need Shieldred.
Right. I was
But
like black because Shieldred's like
if
you need 3 of them.
if you buy Shieldred, it feels bad until you realize, oh, she's a modern staple. She gets played in Legacy. She's a Pioneer staple.
She's a Pioneer staple.
She's an EDH staple.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so my expensive card is expensive because literally everybody wants it. Okay, so it's just a Magic card.
I got so blessed. I got them at like $40.
Thank you.
I pulled 2 in pre-release, for DMU, and was like, wow, this card's kind of crazy. And then immediately got, I ended up buying one.
Sure.
And Grognard's, they have like this one time a year thing, which is really cool, where they do like $10 drafts or something.
Oh, nice.
$10 drafts, and it's only 1 round though.
It sounds like a bar thing.
Yeah, and they just rip back to back. Like, so you get 1 round. There's like 1 prize pack for the winner, and you just keep playing. And I pulled like a Phyrexian foil Shieldred.
Oh wow,
I think I said here. I was like, oh.
It'd be fun. I'd like to do like a draft day like that.
And that Phyrexian foil Shieldred was like 100 at the time. So I was like,
I'll take 2 regulars.
Yeah, thank you, please.
Yeah, for sure. But with that all being said, probably gonna get into some quick housekeeping before getting into the episode. We want to talk about a little bit of Standard. We've been talking about a lot of Standard, but we want to get into some Modern and Pioneer. There's some exciting stuff with Karlach Manor.
Yeah, and that's really the big thing, is to jump in and be like, hey, we're early in the format. There's still a lot that's untested, but there is a lot of fun things that we're seeing off the bat. And we wanted to touch base, keep you in the loop, and because there's fun things to talk about. So with housekeeping, first, if you would like to support our show and you're enjoying our content, which this week, actually, I had one of our Limited guys, who is in my Limited chat, text me privately to go, hey, I don't always watch your episodes. Like, I don't watch them a ton, but you guys have come such a long way, and like, your content's really enjoyable. I was like, thank you so much. So
we do appreciate it.
Yeah. So shout out to you, Phil. We appreciate that. But if you are liking our show, like many of you do, and you want to support us, the best way to do that is through Patreon, where you can go ahead and give back to the show that way. Helps us keep the lights on. And we give you some sweet perks back. So you can have, sideboard guides from us. You can get us to play some of your decks that you want online, help us lose those sweet MTGO tickets, or, gems on Arena, early access to our episodes, and more.
And some coaching as well.
Yes, the top tier is coaching, where we will go over the format that you like and give you a coaching session each month. Thank you. Kind of a big one, being at the top tier.
No worries. We're working on revamping them because we want to add some more to the Patreon. Definitely, especially for those who have been supporting us so far. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Next, you can always check us out on Twitter. We'll be posting whatever we can on there, trying to stay involved with the community as much as we can on Twitter. It is kind of where a lot of people stay active on Magic, but so far, we just try to connect with you guys as much as we can. But unless you guys reach out to us, I will try to stay active on Twitter as much as I can. But if you want to reach out to us directly, your best way is to use our free access Discord, which has additional perks for the patrons. But the open access is just for everybody that wants to just join and see most of our normal channels and our general chat, etc. We do have some special channels reserved for those that are patrons, as well as like the hidden voice channels for the coaching sessions and whatnot.
Yeah. You can also go on Twitter to find other things that we're posting, like especially for me, now that we're in a new limited set, all of my deck lists, when I trophy, I put them there too.
Yeah, true. And then you can always follow us on YouTube. We'd really appreciate if you guys subscribe. It's free, helps us a ton in the algorithm. We're trying to grow it. We are finally going to be able to get our Commander content out that we've been talking about. Our buddy Sal from MTG Chicago, shout outs, who let us borrow the camera we're using, actually got me this really big crane thing that I can use for recording some Commander gameplay, and it's actually pretty cool. We already use it to record games in the shop for our weekly events. So if you want to get on camera, come over to the shop. We'll get you on camera. Bring a cool deck. We'll get you on some MTG Chicago. And for Commander, Keep an eye out if you're a patron, if you're local. We're gonna start peeping people to come play some Commander with Frank and I on camera. Get some YouTube videos out.
Yeah, and on YouTube as well, you can go and see in the community channel, and a shout out to MTG Chicago. If I have matches that aren't, terrible, I will go ahead and post them there to show some of the different deck lists that I'm playing, and you can see actually in paper some of those matches with our videos now, and we're going to try and get, as my theater schedule slows down, getting some of the streaming that we've been doing on Twitch up there too. And help us out with a subscribe if you can via YouTube, because we're getting close. Like, we're not at the 100 number, but we're
almost there. We're almost there.
We've been climbing, and that's felt nice.
We did promise a giveaway though, and we are working on it. It's just I want to make sure I have enough Karlov Manor for the customers before I steal the box for ourselves. But we will post about that very soon.
Yeah, it'll probably be like after. Maybe we can do it after MTD Chicago, MagicCon Chicago. Gosh,
another one.
But MagicCon Chicago, we can maybe do it then.
Yeah, that'll probably be what we'll end up having to do. And then last thing, we finally got our playmats in that we've been talking about. Here's one that Frank has next to us and one on the table that we've been using. Awesome artwork. We're happy with how it turned out. A bunch of people already picked some up in the shop, and I mailed the ones that go to our top tier patrons. I already mailed out, and I believe the rest of them got picked up in person. So far we're good. If you want to get one, let us know. We can show you how to order it. You can order it on our Borsat website so that you don't have to worry about sending us money directly or whatever. And if you're a top tier in the patron, you just get one for free.
Yeah. So that is that. No more housekeeping. Let's get into our episode. So the first thing is first is we wanted to touch on standard and some of the things that we've seen in MKM. The first one being is that like the big winner, if you had to hear one thing for standard, is Boros Convoke. Wow, shocking. Boros Convoke was a really great deck and is a good deck in Pioneer. And now with Novice Inspector being Thraben Inspector for standard, it just got a lot cleaner, like for Gleeful Demolition. And on top of it, they got some other like powerful tools like War Leader's Call, which is the anthem, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you do 1/2 in the opponent's face. Like you Gleeful Demolition with that, it's crazy. And I've even seen some lists playing the case of the Getaway Express, which each of your creatures deals 1 damage to target creature. And when you've got a Novice Inspector plus Gleeful Demolition plus any other, it's practically just like an instant kill.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That you can then buff your guys with if you solve the case. So that deck is really good. Our buddies today, Julian and Jeremy, went off to an RCQ, and Julian is like, "Oh, I faced Boros Convoke 2 of my first 4 rounds today," and I'm not sure if Jeremy saw any of it either. So it's a real deck. It's very consistent now, and we've actually been talking about for our prepping, like, hey, this is a deck that we think will be a front runner for the 75K for MagicCon that like we need to be prepared to face, because people off the bat are already seeing like it's good, it's consistent.
Right. I mean, we've already been talking about how good we like Path of Peril and Temporary Lockdown in general with the kind of decks that are in our playstyle. So like, if you've already been playing those cards, it's a good time to be playing them. They're good against the bat that's been running around the format already, but they're also very good against this Boros Convoke list that is honestly strong enough to power through them. So don't sleep on this list if you haven't seen it yet. Definitely check it out. Get some plays in with it just so you can see what it feels like. Know what it does against your deck if you've already locked one in. And if you're playing Domain, I'm sorry.
Yeah, very, very sorry. That's like the third aggro deck that has been made that like is good into Domain, which is just, I think, going to be pushing it down further, which...
Well, it just feels like Domain went from like unstoppable to like, man, is this a tier 2 deck now? Not quite, but it's getting close. Well, there's a lot of tools against it now.
And to recover, I like saw a list today that I was looking at in preparation for the episode that like was running 3 main board temporary lockdowns. And I was like, that is probably going to be more common than you think.
Yeah, 100%. You need it because not only does it hit the Boros Convoke guys, but it takes out the Doorkeeper Thrall that is kind of a problem for you.
Yeah. Doorkeeper Thrall hasn't like been showing up in lists as of yet, but it is absolutely a problem for you. The only thing that I wonder for the list is one of the engines that really kept Domain going was Beans.
Right.
Like, Up the Beanstalk was a great card in that deck, and it's kind of a Nambo.
Yeah,
with
definitely.
With temporary lockdown, so it's like
I'm kind of excited though because personally, I don't like the Beans in Domain. Like obviously it's good and probably correct, but every time I play it, I'm like, I can side these guys out. I'm not that excited about them. What I have kind of grown on is Invasion of Zendikar. I'm like, I don't hate this card as much anymore. I'm like quick to cut the beans.
Oh my gosh, which is crazy to me because you dogged that card for so long.
Yeah, it's still like my least favorite card in the deck, but if I could play the deck with temporary lockdowns and no beans, like just swap 4 for 4, not really think about anything else. Obviously that's wrong, but like just not think about anybody else, I would just jump into it, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously you change other things about the deck now that you have like maybe more temporary lockdowns, but I don't think I'd miss the card draw that much. And temporary lockdown just seems worth it.
Yeah.
And you can't really play Path to Peril on that deck, unfortunately. I mean, you could, but you can't. And it's a great card. I guess they could try going back to like Mirix, which they used to do, but that would also be kind of weird. I don't know. Cavern of Souls just seems so much more worth it, especially now that like Blue-White Control might be back with No More Lies.
Well, and that's what we're going to get into a little bit too, is that No More Lies has obviously been a pickup for Pioneer. Like, everyone's excited. Like, we finally have Mana Leak in Pioneer, great. And in the deck that was already playing Blue-White, which, again, is great. But No More Lies has made its way into Blue-White Control lists. And I felt like, I don't know why, but I've seen less decks with Cavern of Souls than I thought. And so I don't think it's, like, as much of a problem as it was. Like, there was a lot of Cavern of Souls, but the only list that I really see playing, like, a lot of them is Domain.
Right.
And then on top, but you're
there's not
so
too many
removal.
decks that are like actually with the tribal thing, right? It's like Domain is like an Angels deck, and sometimes it's a dinosaur deck.
Right?
So it's like, oh, this is perfect for us. Everybody else is like maybe 1 or 2 just to like hedge against control. But if control makes a comeback, I think we might see a lot more.
Yeah, and the Rakdos is being played. Like, they play Cavern Souls.
Right.
Because they've got vampires, like, they've got, like, 3 or 4. They've got, like...
Or they do dinosaurs, too.
Yeah, they've got 2 or 3 Phyrexians, then they also have dinosaurs. So they have a good reason to play Cavern of Souls. And you don't want your Geological Appraisers, even though they're playing less than they used to, you don't want them getting countered. Right. Because that's, like, one of the big cards to, like, really drive you into a winning position.
Yeah, well, what I like about the Cavern of Souls is, like, the decks that kind of trim on it, you don't really play it like you do in Modern, where you're like, oh, this card has a purpose. Like, in Standard, you're like, oh, well, I drew the Cavern of Souls. What does my hand look like? Well, which spell needs to resolve? All right, cool. That's what I'm going to name. And you just go. And it just gets you enough force through to not worry about Normalize, make disappear, whatever counter magic your opponent might be playing, whether they're playing soldiers, protected negotiators, or make disappears an Esper, or maybe they're playing Blue-White Control now with No More Lies. You're like, this guy has to get through. After that, we'll figure it out. And if I'm lucky and I can get 2 guys with this Cavern of Souls, awesome.
Yeah. The only thing that's I found interesting about No More Lies coming into the format for Blue-White is that I'm still seeing less playing Make Disappear. I thought it would just like remove it entirely, but now it's like, now we have 6 counterspells or 8 counterspells or however many they're playing. And so I thought that to be interesting. But
it kind of makes sense to me, actually, because back when I was playing it a lot, a couple months ago, I was like really, really into the control list. We both were for a while. And I was like, cut the counterspells, they're bad. Don't play them. Just play more removal. And now that you have Normalize, part of the reason why I can see them playing 6 to 8 copies is like, well, now you have good counterspells and a lot of them. The redundancies of having multiple counterspells, you're just like, you have to fight through all of them now. And if they don't have the Cavern of Souls, or they have the Cavern of Souls on the wrong target, or you don't care about the Cavern of Souls because you're countering their non-creature spells, it really can be backbreaking for them. Where like, I have Sunvault for your guys. Don't try to resolve a spell.
Yeah. And what is really cool about the list as well is that Blue White Control just added Ezram Agency Chief as like a one or two of. And
Yes.
what excites me about that the most, which Ezram Agency Chief for you viewers that don't know, after Todd has put it up, is one white, blue, Archon Detective flying. When Ezram Agency Chief enters the battlefield, investigate twice. Pay 1, sacrifice an artifact. Ezram gains your choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Hexproof till end of turn. This excites me because it is kind of like doing what's the Sphinx?
You mean Dream Trawler?
Dream Trawler.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, like going back to like old school control, this is like between Aetherling, Dream Trawler, Pearl Link Ancient, whatever you want to call the guy that's like, I'm a big blue threat and I kind of protect myself in standard. This is like the coolest one to me.
Yeah, and that's why I love it so much, because it does remind me of old school standard, like when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I would love to go back to that if it was good. So yeah, I'm excited for this
this guy's cool
as a new threat to play. I love it.
I mean, it's a 5-power flyer, guys, and it gives itself hexproof. It protects itself so well. It's a 5-drop, so like you're casting this guy like on turn 6 or 7, realistically, soonest. And the fact that you can go like turn 6, man, I'm in the red. Go. And then your opponent's like, well, now I can't attack, unless they have a removal spell. And then even then, they got to get to its 5/5. So if your life total is high enough and you can just squeeze through the turn, all of a sudden you're slamming back and gaining 5 life, or setting yourself up in a way that maybe you attack, gain the 5 life, blow up the board. It's such a big turnaround.
Well, and in the realm of 2024 Magic, what's great is that if you do slam this on 5, because you just need to get a creature out there and they end up removing, it's not like it's completely replacing itself,
right?
But the investigate tokens can, to get back to having open mana again, it is replacing itself. So that's a big deal. It's like even if it does get removed, you still got like some amount of value, like the ability to draw 2 cards later.
Is it sack any artifact or just sack a clue?
Any artifact.
See, that's kind of crazy to me, because now your Sunfall leaving incubates on the table is crazy.
Holy moly.
I could even honestly see the white decks like sideboarding like Skrell's Hive or whatever, and just being like, well, this is like our backup plan. But I can also sack these little mites to my boy.
Well, I don't know. I always wanted the was it White Sun's Twilight?
Oh, White Sun's Twilight, yeah.
Is that the card where you like
field nuke plus get a bunch of mites if it's 5 or more?
Yes. I wanted that card to be like a win condition for control.
Yeah.
Just to be like, I'm gonna kill you via toxic in 2 turns. Like, I don't know. Sounds good to me.
I mean, maybe it was Skrell's Hive. I could actually see Skrell's Hive is so good, and I'm glad that it's finally getting played.
It's a busted card.
It's crazy. I mean, when it first got spoiled, I was like, Bitter Blossom and Standard, like for real, and then it was like nothing, and now it's like, oh wait, this is really really good. Mono white toxic, Bant toxic.
Whenever I see mono white, whenever I see toxic, Bant toxic, like play that on 2, I'm like,
it's just so funny to me when they're like this, and I'm like, oh, slow hand, huh? And like, yep, Tocasia's welcome. I'm like, I'm like, oh, I see. Like, I think I watched somebody in the store play back-to-back Tocasia's welcome, and then they had 2 Skrell Hives by turn 5, and they're just like, it's like they were the blue player. Their hand was like always full, can't do anything to them. Just it's such a cool card. I could definitely see Blue Eye Control being like, yeah, we're gonna sideboard a couple of Skrell Hives, and it's like a mirror breaker. It's also just like a sick win condition, and it just kind of sits there while you're like field nuking, or maybe even eating the mites for what's his name? I can't pronounce it.
Ezram,
yeah. And I don't know. I think that would be really cool. But either way, I'm pretty high on Blue Eye Control. Kind of back on my BS.
which I'm mad about, because I've been a Blue White Control player for like most of like when I am playing different decks in Pioneer and I want to go back home, I go to Blue White Control, because that's what I've like done best with on a consistent basis. I really like playing Control. It's very much my play style, and I was like, man, I don't know. I was just hoping to play some like mid-rangey piles for.
We're playing fair standard, and it's so fun to play fair. Anyways.
Time to back on Blue White again. Guess I gotta go find some Sunfalls somewhere. I've got like 2, I think, but like most lists are running 4, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
You know what?
okay.
I just I gotta find a way to put Living Conundrum in that deck. I'm just kidding, but like I miss 2015 like World Championship do nothing blue white control, and if I can go back and like anytime a blue white deck is good in standard, I'm like, can we relive? Can it be?
Have
Can it be
mercy,
no win
brother.
conditions?
Have mercy. Um, but this one it's looking good. And by the way, if you're wondering, like these decks that we're talking about, there was a list that came out literally either today or yesterday that had 144 players in it. Like these decks that I'm talking about were 5-2 or better. That I was seeing these lists in. The top one actually being Bant Control with Beans.
Oh,
and, like, playing
nice.
Whale and Ezreum
And like syncopate and whatnot. That's
yeah,
cool.
I just didn't like it because
Hey, Beans with Ezreum, yeah.
I just want to play, as we talked about. We think Temporary Lockdown is going to be like a really high play, and I
Right.
don't want to play Beans and Lockdown in the same
Right.
deck. I
think 4 Lockdown, 4 Sunfall is where I want to be currently.
Such a bad person. I'm like, what? Do you need help? Other than that, we've seen a couple like spicy things come in. In a red black list, I saw Stashed Skeleton being played as a 2 of with Illicit Masquerade. I can't tell you how excited I was to see this list. So for those of you that don't know, Stashed Skeleton is a 2. I think it's a 2.
I'm not sure. Is it the one that flips or becomes a guy?
No, it's it does become a guy. I'm pulling it up right now. The Stashed Skeleton. It is 2 mana. Case of the Stashed Skeleton. When this case enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 black skeleton creature token with Suspect, which means it has menace and it can't block. To solve, you control no suspected skeletons. Solved, you may pay 1 and a black, sacrifice the case, and Demonic Tutor. Crazy, crazy, craziness. Oh, has someone got to turn off the thing? Has that been on the whole time? I don't think it sounded bad. Whatever. Well, it'll get fixed. But yeah, it's Demonic Tutors. And so I was like, that's kind of crazy. Like on turn 2, make a 2/1 with Menace, and then once they kill it, you have a tutor,
right?
For whatever you want. Sounds great. And then beyond that, Illicit Masquerade. I think that this card should be a commander card, and I see people in draft not pick this card highly.
What's the card? Because I'm not actually sure what it is.
Okay, Illicit Masquerade. I played against it once and was like, this card's cracked. Illicit Masquerade. 3 and a black enchantment with flash. When Illicit Masquerade enters the battlefield, put an imposter counter on each creature you control. When a creature you control with an imposter counter on it dies, exile it, return 1 other target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So basically, if you have a board of 3 creatures and you have 4 creatures in the bin, if they spot removal, kill, you flash this in. When those creatures die, all of them, so you keep the imposter counter on them, on the ones that aren't killed, you exile that creature, bring 1 from your graveyard back to the battlefield. And this is a 4-mana reanimate.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you ended up binning whatever, something way better than the creature that they're killing.
Well, that also seems really gross with Bat.
Oh my gosh, yes it does. Well, not only does it seem gross with Bat, I love it with the skeleton, because eventually they have to kill it. It's a 2/1 with Menace on turn 2. And so when they do kill it, you then, like, the token was going to go away anyway. So just you exile the token and bring something from your graveyard back to the battlefield.
That's really cool.
What the?
It kind of makes me like going back to like that mono black list we had brewed, the mid-range mono black that was just like all the best black spells, all the best removal spells, grind you out mid-range. Well, it was really fun.
And it makes Liliana better.
Yeah.
You can discard those cards. You can discard something crazy and then be like, oh, I'm gonna Illicit Masquerade my do nothing 2 mana stuff that I had out earlier, and now I'm gonna bring back whatever that new guy is that has like 6 mana ward, sacrifice a creature whenever a creature dies, gain 2, drain 2.
Oh yeah,
that card is illegal.
The Blood Artist's very large stepson or whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's called Vein Ripper. That card is so good. I've been wanting to try that with Kaya and like turn my creatures into that guy and then like field nuke or something. But that just
mercy,
seems
bro.
that does really seem honestly good. And Liliana, speaking of which, is if there's a reason why I don't play blue white control at MagicCon, it's gonna be Liliana. That's also partially why I can definitely understand them playing like 4 normalize, 2 to 3 make disappears. It's like she cannot resolve. I don't want to let her happen. That's like the card that will end the control deck for sure. At least in this format.
Yeah.
They're scared of that. And then whatever she comes along with.
Yeah, so she may go up in value if blue white control becomes a real deck, because right now I'm seeing lists in Golgari and Rakdos at most play 2. When we were on a list of 3, she always felt like good, like needed to be answered immediately.
I'm just kind of wishing there was like an Esper control list.
I know. I even said it in the Discord. I was like, what if Julian, because Julian and I have been like cooking on these lists for Orzhov. I was like, what if we just played Esper?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not.
Especially because like the best land to me, if you're gonna play a man land, is the blue-black one. That mill is disgusting.
Oh, sure.
You're like, mill you, the grind is over. It doesn't matter how much damage I've done. Like, you lost. These decks just go through cards so fast. And like between Breach the Multiverse, Domain drawing infinity cards with Atrexa, the control mirror matchups, feels like the first person to start milling their opponent. Like if you're playing up to Beanstalk, like I'm milling you, man. Like, and that's part of why I like cutting the beans in Domain. I'm like, dude, the first person to play beans in the mirror match loses.
So maybe that is going to be our testing fun. You play blue white, and I'll play blue black, and I'll play Jace Lily with Breach the Multiverse, and you can play blue white, and we'll see. Like it will test against everyone and be like, right, what deck more often than not runs it out,
right?
Because that if you play Jace, Liliana, and Breach the Multiverse, it really feels like, and you're playing the Restless Reef. That feels like an actual mill plan.
Right.
In standard.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. And like actually feels good, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like what control was 2 months ago. Just dog, unplayable, kind of a meme.
Yeah.
Just waste your time.
The only way it would get run over is if you're not playing nukes, which is like another reason why it's like, oh, you have to play Path Peril, which to me is a worse version of
Temporary lockdown, sure. Well, I do like Path to Peril more in some ways, only because of like they're gone, and you can't get them back. But for sure, lockdown just like always feels better. Path to Peril just doesn't like not excite me. So like if you had to play blue black control for some reason, at least you have Path to Peril. The card feels great. It gets the job done. And when it kills the guys, you at least have the value of like they're gone. You don't have to worry about them. They're not going to blow up the enchantment somehow, and then get like 2 bats back or something, and now you're dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like where Standard's been at. It's been really fun. I think the only other really notable stuff is like Assassin's Trophy has been getting played in green black, like we talked about, but not to the degree that we were hoping for. Yeah, it's still just a good spell.
I was hoping that not to agree we've been hoping for. We're seeing it be played. It's good. I was also hoping that Green Black would get Sharp-Eyed Rookie, and we are seeing some lists like play Sharp-Eyed Rookie in Green Black, but that's like the one sleeper card that I'm like, I think this card will be great.
Sharp-Eyed Rookie for sure is a sleeper card. If you can get them cheap, just get them. I mean, look at what happened to the Leyline of the Guild Pack, which we'll get into later. Like, if this card ever gets figured out, it's going to get expensive, and it's just such a good card. Like, it has to be playable in Pioneer. It's already good in Standard, and I think it's like definitely like a long-term spec that this card is just going to become like a green Pioneer staple, like what Tarmogoyf was for Modern for a long time.
Yeah. The only other thing we did have for Standard, because I do want to talk about it, is Cryptic Coat. Cryptic Coat is you know what this card is? Holy moly!
Well, actually, I do, but I forgot the exact wording.
Yeah. So Cryptic Coat is nuts. It is being played currently in Pioneer, and it's up to $7 now. Holy moly. So 3 mana, 2 and a blue, artifact equipment. When Cryptic Coat enters the battlefield, cloak the top card of your library, attach Cryptic Coat to it. 2 cloak a card, put it onto the battlefield, face down as a 2/2 with ward 2, then turn it face up for any time if it's mana cost, if it's a creature card. Equipped creature gets +1/0, cannot be blocked. and then you can pay 1 and a blue and return it to your hand.
Oh.
So you basically make an unblockable creature out of anything in your deck,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanna like hit the creature. Cool, bounce back to your hand, do it again.
Yeah.
And control lists, artifact lists are just like eating this card up, playing it a ton. It's
Sure.
good. It's just like,
I mean, the card does seem very good.
well, even if you end up attaching it to a creature and you then flip that creature up, that creature's still unblockable. It's just bigger. Then.
Now I remember. It wasn't you that had said something. It was Tommy. I was talking to Tommy. He's like, "Did you see people playing this card? It's the new True Name Nemesis." And I was like, "Oh God."
I think that this card's crazy and people are just starting to play with it.
Yeah, I think
it's gonna be
exactly that.
It's unless you have artifact removal specifically within like Pioneer or Standard, you will never run out of a body. Ever. And it's an unblockable body with Ward.
Yeah. It's just going to keep grinding. And God forbid you get it on a good guy that can flip for cheap.
Yeah, then you flip that creature over and then that's unblockable too.
Right. Well, if it has like more power, then it's even worse, Like imagine you, let's say you get it on like a Sleep Cursed Fairy. Flip it for 1, unblockable 4 power. Sure. Or is it +2 or +1?
No, plus 1.
So yeah, unblockable 4 power, effectively.
Well, if you flip it, then it's just a 2/1. No, Sleep Cursed Fairy.
Yeah, Sleep Cursed Fairy.
I was thinking of the Fairy Dream Thief.
Oh, gotcha.
The one with Surveil. I was like, Sleep Cursed Fairy. Yeah, that's horrifying.
Yeah. Or like the 6/6 dinosaur for 3. You're like, I flip this guy 7. Unblockable.
Unblockable. Good luck.
Right.
Yeah, that's all for Standard. It's again, remember that this is very untested waters. It's just like what we're seeing off the bat. But it's making me excited. There's going to be
definitely
a lot
very hyped. Play Standard. Try it out.
Yeah.
It's not a bad format. You're not cool if you hate Standard.
Yeah, you're not cool if you hate Standard. Like
that meme is dead. Like this 2020 was 4 years ago now. Like,
yeah, right.
Standard? What? I actually like Dan. I'm like, all right, buddy. Let's get you back to the nursing home.
Yeah, and like there's no avoiding it anymore. If you like playing RCQs, sorry.
Also, Store Championships are all going to be
and
Standard.
Store Championships too. Like you don't want those sweet cards just like to play a format that's actually really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like a weak take.
And you could just be the guy that only plays the $20 deck. Just be the guy playing mono white toxic, and then whatever the equivalent is every rotation.
Yeah,
just be that guy.
And they're good. They're not bad right now.
They're great decks.
They're strong decks. Next we've got Pioneer. There's not a lot of shakeups here. It's very similar. Cryptic Code is making its way into new Insole lists, which that is the one deck I want to talk about. Is Insole? Is it artifacts?
Yeah.
This deck it looks awesome. And I think part of it is we are now starting to see like the fruit of
the Karn ban.
The Karn ban, absolutely. Right. Is that this deck, didn't see it a week ago, is now at 3% of the meta.
Right.
And it's a Gigantolist, which great already.
Right.
Combat Courier, Spyglass Siren, Epicure, Inti.
Spyglass Siren is just so good.
It's
every time they put it in a deck, I'm like, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Do it twice.
Right. Then Gleeful Demolition, Torch the Tower, Shrapnel Blast, Smuggler's Copter, Insole Artifact, Fable the Moonbreaker.
These kind of decks are always so fun. And if you're an artifact fiend like our buddy Sal, like this is where you want to be. Like this is the kind of artifact deck that will be good. Like we talk about red black a lot, and unfortunately this like never kind of pays off in Pioneer anymore. But like this could actually be like a deck that just crushes people, especially if they don't have like sideboard for it. If they're not ready for the deck, you're just gonna like steamroll them. They don't have Zoetic Glyph, right? It's just Scissors.
Yeah, it's just Scissors.
Scissors though is still a 5/5, which is nasty. Yeah. Gingerbread is a hell of a card.
Well, and this specifically like isn't showing up in this list, but a lot of lists I'm seeing outside of this one are playing the new Gleaming Geardrake.
Oh yeah,
which is
love
crazy for this deck. It's an artifact Drake flyer for 2. When you sacrifice an artifact, which you're already doing with Torch the Tower, and you're doing with Shrapnel Blast.
Well, he also comes in with his own clue.
Yeah, plus he makes a clue, so he can already buff himself that way too. So and it's a flyer. So if you want to Ensoul Artifact it, it's like not only is it Ensoul Artifact, but now you need flying too or reach.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. Excited to see where this goes. I actually might even like try playing this because it looks like it's a blast.
Yeah, it looks like a good day. This is the kind of list that you come into the shop with on Pioneer Night, and I'm like, you're on camera, table 21.
Go
right
hope
now.
Hope you practiced.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Next within Pioneer, No More Lies. Really great Blue Eye Control. Blue Eye Control is already good, and this is another like
slots right in.
Yeah,
we called it. You called it. Everybody called it. Good job.
Yeah. Beyond that,
Lay Down in the Guild Pact, which we'll get more into in Modern, has been hitting the mono green lists like we talked about. Everybody talked about it. What? I get 4 devotion on turn 0? Maybe 8, maybe 16 if I have a really bad hand. Anyways, it's still cool though. And honestly, especially if you've seen like nobody's 5-0'd with it or done anything good with it, but Doomwick had a really cool list where he like sideboarded a bunch of different color cards because he had Vivian.
Sideboarding like Tishana Sidebinders and
Atraxa, whatever. Yeah.
Look at now mono green is 5 colors.
Yeah, 5 color mono green. It's pretty cool. Especially I like the cards that matter, like Tishana Sidebinder and Atraxa. All the other ones were memes, but those two actually helpful. But yeah, so like that's pretty much all we have for Pioneer. But we talked about Pioneer not gonna shake up a ton until Q2. I think next
that's the RCQ season. It's Q2 is RCQ season.
Then you're gonna see Pioneer just like explode because it's kind of untested. Well, like not. It's like it's unharnessed energy right now. Like nobody's using their focus on Pioneer besides for like really quick, really fun, really obvious stuff. And once the RCQ season starts, you're just gonna see the chefs, the Asmos. They're gonna be out in full force.
Yeah, and with that in mind too, that's actually why I wanted to preface with like, hey, Standard is also untested because specifically this weekend, because it is a Saturday for us. The Denver RC,
Denver's RC
was modern,
right,
is happening right now. The next big event is Magic Con Chicago,
right?
So, which is the Standard 75K. So after this weekend, everyone on Twitter is currently talking about Modern. It'll be Standard next week.
Yep.
And so that's when people will really start cooking, really start testing, really start grinding. And
after MagicCon, honestly, you're gonna see a pretty solid lock on the format for Standard. And I would be surprised if you saw little deviation in the metagame after that as people start to adjust their minds to Pioneer. Because a lot of people that are qualifying for the RCQs or the RC, it's 2 months in at this point. You've already got your spot. It's going to be less and less people that are, let's face it, good, focusing on the format as they are out of the RCQ season.
I haven't been able to play yet.
So yeah, I honestly haven't been able to go.
That means it's going to be easier for me.
But it's pretty cool. We'll see what Pioneer looks like in like a month. Which also like Thunder Junction's going to come out a month into the Pioneer season, or not even like right into the April is Thunder Junction, I believe. So like Pioneer season is just going to be like, go all tools, everything,
and
new toys, etc.
I don't know if I said it, but Cryptic Code is being played everywhere. I did say for the Ensoul list, but I forgot to say like control lists are even picking up some Cryptic Codes, and I saw a list of spirits that was playing.
And spirits probably is picking up No More Lies as well if they haven't.
Well, Mono Blue Spirits is playing Cryptic Code.
Gotcha.
Not Blue White Spirits, but yes, they're probably doing that.
That makes sense actually. Mono Blue Spirits could use a card like this.
Yeah, so Cryptic Code is just being played everywhere. It's cool.
That's very awesome. The next format, we're gonna get into some Modern. I think this is gonna be the last thing we talk about, so we're just gonna do some quick Modern wrap up. Modern is spicy. We've seen a lot of stuff just today alone at the RC, like we talked about. One thing specific, shout outs again to Tommy. He was sending me a bunch of tweets all day about what's going on. LSV and his squad all decided to play 4-color rhinos, and I think as of like round 6 or something, that deck had like a 60+% win rate, and the rest of the field was like normal win rates except for like Merfolk, which was like there was like 11 Merfolk players apparently, I think, and it was like
28%.
Yeah, like 28% win rate. It was we were like merfolk players.
So sorry.
Sushi. Anyways. But yeah, no, that Rhinos list. They're playing Leyline of the Guild Pact. It's lean. It's like 4 force negations, 4 subtleties, which if you know me, you know I love the 4x Force of Wills in Modern. Like if your deck can play that and support it, you're cooking. Then it's like 4 ley lines, 4 Lauren Revealed, and then it's like Rhinos, and then your list. And it just sign a Draco, giving the Rhinos the buffs, no flex slots, just go. Leyline being free, and then also like it's hard to Blood Moon you. Like if you can keep a basic land in play, Blood Moon won't take you off a domain ever. It's nasty. Also, Leyline Binding is Leyline Binding is just such a nasty card.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, deck is nutty. I mean, we've already been seeing people play Domain Zoo as it is without the Rhino. So like now the question is like, are you going to be playing Domain? Are you going to be playing regular Rhinos? Are you going to be playing Rhinos Zoo? Are you going to be playing Scam Zoo? Like where it falls is like we're going to be seeing a lot of different things. But
what if they ban that out of Modern just so they're like, you can't play 5 color anymore?
Yeah,
everyone
like,
can't be 5 color.
Yeah, no, stop. But yeah, so far the front runner is this 4 color Rhinos list, but we'll see. I mean, like there's a lot of ways it can go, and it's also kind of making Amulet kind of get pushed up a lot too. So people are trying to play more Blood Moon effects, but Blood Moon necessarily isn't that good against Leyline of the Guild Pact. And for those who don't know, Leyline of the Guild Pact is one of the new Karlov Manor cards. It's green, black, green, red, green, white, green, blue, 4 mana Leyline, as they all are. Your creatures are every color, your lands are every basic land type, and it makes Sign of Draco especially broken when it gives all your guys 5 keywords and 6 if it's a Rhino because they get double trample. But it's been really cool. It's been awesome to actually see how fun Leyline has been. Sorry, Frank.
It's hurting me. I'm so glad I'm not playing Modern now.
Honestly, it is hard to play Modern right now if you're playing like a deck that isn't like in the top tier. I don't know if we talked about it last time, but Andrea Mangucci had this really, really just based amazing take.
Oh, I actually saw it before you were talking about it and retweeting it.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe that's how I found it. Was I saw like I went onto our Twitter.
Yeah, like who's retweeting this?
And saw like you being like, Mangucci, thank you.
Like it's like I don't know if you watch wrestling, but like whenever Roman Reigns comes out, everybody's like this. That's me when Andrea Mangucci tweets anything. I'm like, but anyways, I'm so excited for WrestleMania. Anyways, Andrea Mangucci, he tweeted out like, Modern was fine. The bans didn't make sense. Modern is in a really bad spot right now. Stop listening to Twitter. Stop listening to Reddit. Stop listening to the people that are being crybabies online. Brackets. He was a lot more polite than I am. They don't know what they're talking about. Actually look at like win rates. And then people are like, what? Only win rates? That's a really dumb. It's like, that's not what he said. Like real. Like look at objectively what he's saying is, let's be real. A lot of times the Magic community kind of just like freaks out. And they can be wrong. And then Magic's like, or Wizards is like, okay, got it. We're going to just ban some cards. Whatever you guys want. You guys pick them out. Throw the dart. And it's like, I think Andrea had a pretty good point. It's like, Scam didn't lose any percentage without Fury. It was like nothing changed. Now we just don't have Fury. A borderline for no reason. And the format is like, unless you're playing Rhinos or Amulet or Yawgmoth, you're in a terrible spot. Like, let's be real. Like, those decks are so far ahead of the other decks. Like, even Yawgmoth, which is like I would consider like a decent matchup for Tron, it's still losable. But then you go against like Amulet, never gonna win. And then now these Rhinos players have like actual aggro against you with like Ragavans that have lifelink and trample. I don't know. It feels like Modern is in an okay spot. I still think the format is okay, but I liked a lot of what Andrea was saying, and I hope that going forward they do take what he said, like, you know, as some good advice, good feedback. Because there's nothing wrong with going online and be like, well, what are people thinking? What's the consensus? But consensus does not equal science. still do some research. They won't give us all their data. So like use your data, look at the win rates, actually think about it, hire some pros, lock them in a room, whatever you got to do, but get like a real answer and don't just be like, people don't like Fury because they like humans. You know what I mean? Like that's just like dumb.
I want to play humans though.
It's still not playable. Like they didn't help us.
My people.
Argus Bowmasters is still a card. But yeah, like I was really happy with what he said. I thought it was really based, and I mean, personally, I like less bans than more bans. I wasn't unhappy with the Beans Fury ban, but at the same time, it's like looking back on it, it's like, man, like he had a lot of strong points, and then people were just giving him so much crap for being right. It's like why are you all booing me? Why are you guys booing me? I'm right. But anyways, Andrea, if you're listening, I love you. Some other spice. I didn't get to see the list, unfortunately, because I don't think he posted it. But Collins Mullen, the man, the myth, the inventor of humans. Speaking of, the OG humans player. I don't know if you know that story, but Collins Mullen, like literally, I think Ixalan came out. He was the only player playing humans. Shows up to SCG, doesn't drop a game, wins the whole tournament, and then everybody's like, "Oh, that's a deck," and then like instantly like top a goldfish. But he was playing at the RC and day 2 with a Lutri pile. So I really want to find this deck list. I couldn't get it, unfortunately, but maybe if I'm lucky, I can splice it into I can have Todd put it in as an image, but I will post it on Discord as soon as I find it. Shout out to Tommy if you can get it before me. It sounds spicy. If you played Lutri in a modern deck, I want to know what that is. But Rhino seems like the forerunner. So like if you hear tomorrow that, I guess you're gonna hear this in the future. So looking back, if Rhino's already won, then we called it, I guess. But
wow, content,
wow, yeah,
incredible.
Yeah. But yeah, Leyline of the Guild Pact. We everybody, you called it, we called it, they called it. The card is good, and we were excited, and for a good reason. Like I think it's just it's a card that when it got spoiled, everybody across the board, even the casuals, were like, "That's cool." And now it's $20. So if it's still $20 when this episode comes out, consider yourself lucky. I'm gonna go rip some Pack the Karlov Manor.
Yeah, I'm really depressed that I did not get, or I didn't get a single guild pack in my box. That
you want to help me rip some pre-release kids? Anyways,
just for you.
So yeah, Modern is honestly, it's in a pretty cool spot. I'm not all doom and gloom. Magic enjoyers, plural. Game is sweet. Karlov Manor did a lot of cool stuff. I like when like this many cards get just played right away. I mean, it's not all like
good. Not all good.
It doesn't all necessarily have to be like, 3 or 4 modern staples. You know, it's like, one of these cards was cool in modern, and the rest are like instant impact in standard. Pioneer got some cool toys, and then even like if like the legacy players got to actually play with something, you know, like I love that. Legacy's in a really fun spot right now. We've been doing once a month Legacy with some playtest cards allowed, like whatever. You don't need to have your own dual lands. Let's just play. And even that format looks really, really good. A good time to be playing Magic right now, honestly, because
good time.
It's like, even if you don't like Standard or if you don't like Commander, like there is a format for you. Like you can play something and it's fun. And I don't hate Arena anymore because I actually really like Limited.
Get Limited for me or Stan?
Frank converted me. I used to hate it. I
love it.
I hated Limited for like the longest time. Keep in mind though, I was playing when like Khans of Tarkir was a paper format. And like if you played that on Arena, you know.
I liked it back then, but I liked it back then for different reasons. Like back then I was poor. And so it was like, I could feel competitive with whoever I was playing with because we were all opening the same cards. So it's like,
well, also like Standard was different back then. Like you didn't have Gideon allies in a car. Sorry, you just can't play with us.
Yeah, well, and
this is also going to be $1 after rotation.
Well, and I remember my Theros Thought Seizes were $40 a piece for like my budget deck my budget Sultai deck that I had for Standard. So in high school, so
yeah. At least with Dossies, it's like, this is a real card. It felt so bad back in the day when, like, in the same Standard, I'm playing Mardu. I have 4 Blood Baron of Isagopas and 4 Boros Reckoners, and each singular card was $20. And I'm like, yeah, $160 for 8 cards that are gonna be $1 after rotation at most. Yes.
Yeah.
It only felt good if you're supporting your local game store. Like at the time, it was my buddy Joe's shop. I'm like, you know what, man, it's your shop, bro. Whatever. But oh my god, or like Checklands when they were like $10, $15 in standard.
Yeah, it was rough. And shocks were way more expensive then because they hadn't been reprinted.
And shocks actually in standard were pretty reasonably priced back then. I think like $15-$20, and now they're like still $15-$20. So
yeah, they were
it's like, okay, cool, we won.
Cheaper than that, but
I remember getting some Shocklands for like $10 back in the day when RTR came out, but that was like a long story of like how much Magic cards they print, etc. We don't have to get into it today.
Yeah, no, not today. But that's why I like limited then, and now limited actually feels like real deck building, like on the spot. Like, how good are you at
yes, the building? Formats are so good.
How good are you at evaluating cards? Like,
plus there's just fun stuff.
Yeah,
like,
and the games are fun and interactive.
You know what's the worst about old limited? Oh, dude, 3 mana, 3/2, reach. Like that guy's not bad.
That guy's crazy.
Oh, 3 mana, 2/2 flyer with maybe an upside. You got to draft that.
Oh man, I remember. Again, I'll go back to this set every time. But Dominaria Remastered.
Oh yeah,
that I like a card that I actually played in my deck was a 4 mana 2/2 double strike.
Dude,
that was like that's a good card in this set.
Last night we just stayed up till like 4 a.m. playing a festival in the box that one of the guys brought from his arena wins.
Oh yeah,
and we're like, Austin. And they were like Austin, yeah. And speaking of Phil, shout outs.
Yeah, I was like, I think Austin's won 3.
Yeah, he had a bunch. He brought them all. He's like, we should do one. And then they're like, we need a 6-player. Stan, will you play? I'm like, I got a lot of work to do, but I will play with you guys because you guys are the boys. So I joined them for the draft, and I'm like pick 8, and by then like all the Modern Horizons packs are gone, all these other packs are gone. I'm the double pick. And I'm like, Dominaria Remastered. Oh, nobody picked that. I was like, wait, this set sucks. And then I put it down, and I'm like, double wilds, please. And I ended up with triple wilds of Eldraine, so I was super happy because that's gas. But also, nobody drafted. I think Dominaria Remastered was like the 3rd last pick. It's such a bad set. They're like, oh yeah, $10 pack. I'll pass. Let me get March of the Machine.
Seriously, I was talking about how Ravnica Remastered is better, but like still a remastered set, so I don't love it.
Well, Ravnica Remastered was phenomenal. They did a great job. You don't like it? Oh, I thought they did such a because if you compare it to Dominaria Remastered, it's like, wow, this is polished diamonds. But if you compare it to Time Shadow Remastered, I think it still holds up.
Got it. Yeah, for me, it's like the lands are cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple cards with like some sweet art treatments that are like actually worth something, and then like dog, and I don't love that.
I guess that's fair.
And it's more of like, if they weren't so expensive, I'd be like, oh man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But because it's like, you know,
I guess I'm looking
at it for like $35 or something, and I even with winning,
I look at it more like through the.
I did really well on both drafts that I did of that, and like my packs were dog. I was like, no shocks, just these, whatever the big Cyclops guy for 6 or whatever.
Oh sure.
I was like.
Oh, like you mean it for your pools? That's interesting because like
my like prize packs.
I
was like,
I guess if they were play boosters, they would have been way better, honestly. But I find that the Commander players really like the set, and that usually means there's like value in it. So maybe it was just like unlucky packs or whatever. But I think the draft format itself is going to have some duds because it's going to have like cards from like Dissension or whatever. But I didn't remember seeing too many vanilla creatures.
Yeah, no, the creatures weren't vanilla at all. It was just like when I play, if I'm going to pay for an expensive set, I feel like I'm going to get some return.
Well, it feels like
and I never
they haven't like nailed it with any of them then, if that's the case. Because like,
oh yeah, no.
If you look at the last year, it's like Ravnica Remastered, Dominaria Remastered, Commander Masters, and then what else? Lord of the Rings. I guess Lord of the Rings was good. Okay, so just Lord of the Rings was good. And then like all the other expensive sets had pretty bad limited.
Well,
I thought the limited was fine in Ravnica personally.
The limited was fine. It's more of like if the Shockland, which is like the second, like the cards you're hoping to get in the set, are cheaper than the packs themselves. I'm like,
what are they? I don't know where you're getting your packs from, bro, but the shotguns are
Aren't
nice.
the packs like 15 each?
No, they're $8.
Remington Master.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah. And like the shotguns are like $20 if you get a retro. They're nice.
Well, yeah, if you get the retro. If you get a regular, they're
Like,
like
it's still like a $10 bill at worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
It's
definitely
about like a
I definitely get where you're coming from because I agree that they have been pushing prices a little crazy. Let's hope that this play booster price increase is like the last time they're going to do something like that for a while. Otherwise, I don't know. I was well, yeah, let's be real.
Wizards.
Wait,
is like,
Hasbro
yeah.
owns Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards is like, please.
So playing
So
Magic,
poor.
yeah, I know they literally they got the crutch and everything.
You're like,
I mean, the Magic players are like a humbug. You know what I mean? Like.
they're like $1 billion. You know what?
We're gonna get into. I think you should leave if we
we-
keep doing this.
Yeah, we need to
gotta raise prices.
Yeah,
Play
like,
boosters. So sorry.
and then Hasbro breaks in the room and they're like, "Crap, dang it, we gotta destroy the skeletons." Anyways, guys, that's all we had to talk about. I think this is a pretty fast episode. At least I hope it is. I don't know if we went longer than we expected it to, but
Probably.
next episode we will definitely have a lot to talk about, especially with hopefully
Magic,
our
Chicago.
lockdown lists. Like, oh yeah, the next episode is just after the MagicCon, right?
It'll be like that Monday.
Yeah, so you're gonna find out if we did it or not.
Tanked. We'll see. Yeah. Well, and hopefully too, like the if you didn't know, the whatchamacallits, the badges are sold out.
Oh, I
Except
know.
for kids badges. And I called it. I called it in November. I was like, people are coming from around the world,
Yeah.
literally around the world to be at this. It's not like, oh, just, America. It's like, no, Europeans are flying in, like
Yeah.
the Mengu squad. Like,
But it's also Chicago. Like, this is the first big Chicago event in a lot. Like, I want to say 14 years.
yeah. So it'll be wild. It's going to be great Magic. And I'm hoping that even if we scrub out day 1, day 2, it's like, okay, roll them up, side events, here we go. And we've got some sweet prizes to come and tell you
And
about.
if I scrub out, I'm scalping my tickets. I'm just kidding.
You want my badge?
Yeah.
$400.
You're locked out? Pay for my standard tournament.
Yeah, please don't audit us. I'm not trying to get in trouble for this. All right.
Ticketmaster, please.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys,
Yeah.
thanks for watching as always. Shout outs to Sal, MTG Chicago, cameras, hooking it up, Chicago. I know Frank is triggered. I don't care because he says MagicCon Chicago.
Thumbnails.
He does the thumbnails. He's that guy. Nancy Steroids, the music, intro and outro, and when Frank is streaming, not when I'm streaming because that's K-pop. Or nothing apparently. Anyways, also shout outs to the patrons as always. You guys support us and we really appreciate you. If you want to get a playmat, hit us up. We really appreciate that as well. And to our viewers that just hang out and watch with us, really appreciate you guys. I know that not everybody can support, financially speaking. None of my business how much you make, but if you can support us, we really do appreciate it. If you're just here to watch and you subscribe on YouTube for free, that already helps us a ton.
And
Really,
tell your-
really appreciate it.
And tell your friends. Tell your friends. Like,
Spread
if you
the,
like our
spread the
stuff,
love.
Spread the love. Get us a few more subscribers. We'd really love that. Also, shout out to Warsat Gaming for allowing us to have the podcast in the store, for supporting our playmats as well, for Todd/Jamie for putting up all of our fun cards.
Todd puts in a lot of work
Yeah, a lot of work.
putting into editing, and it's really appreciated.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
And yeah, everybody that comes to the shop, really appreciate you guys as well. If you need anything shipped, if you're not local and you want to support the store, we can always ship stuff to you wherever you are at. Feel free to email us if you're looking for something specific. We can try to get it for you. And anybody else we leave out?
That's it.
Otherwise, that's it. That's our show. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. We're going to do our best at MagicCon.
We'll do it.
Bye.